So you probably hear me refer to a lot of movies as comfort horror movies for me. And I see a lot of people always comment like, "Oh, this movie's a comfort movie for me." Like it's just a thing. And I'm sure it's going to be different for everybody, but for me personally, comfort movies come from two different categories. So one, I have comfort movies that are movies that I watched as a kid that give me like the nostalgic safe feeling. And two, I have a lot of comfort movies that were movies that scared me absolutely fucking senseless the first time I watched them. So let's start with that. Number one is Grave Encounters. I watched this movie when I was about 16, and it was probably the most scared I've ever been watching a movie ever. But I love that feeling, and not a lot of movies have that effect on me, so I started watching this movie again to like chase that high, basically. And in attempting to do that, it just became a comfort movie for me. I don't really know how to explain that in a better way, so maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. The same exact thing happened for me with Hell House LLC. The first time I watched this movie, I had to turn on every fucking light in my house, and now I fall asleep to it for comfort. I feel like in a weird way, it's probably like a strange way to prove that the movie didn't scare you that much, or that like you can overcome fear. I don't know. The first time I ever watched Unfriended in the theater, it really freaked me the fuck out, and this is one that like I fall asleep to very regularly. The Conjuring, the other movie in the running with Grave Encounters for the movie that has scared me the most in my life. And again, I then watched this one so many times that it became like comforting and gave me a sense of peace, and it still does, and I love it so much. Now, in the category of the movies that I used to watch a lot when I was a kid, so they bring me a sense of nostalgia. I started watching horror movies basically when I came out of the womb with my dad, so the movies that he and I used to watch the most are the movies that are the most comforting to me now. People might not categorize The Mummy as a horror movie, but he and I used to watch this movie like literally once a week, it felt like, so now it just brings me so much comfort. Same exact thing with the 1976 King Kong, and again, this one might not be considered a horror movie, but it's just such a comfort movie for me. It just makes me feel safe and secure. Jeepers Creepers. So I know that this is a controversial movie because the director is an absolute disgusting trash human. And I entirely agree with that, but to me, I don't think it's fair to discredit the work that so many other talented people did on this movie. So whether you like it or you don't, totally respect it, but this is another one that I watched so many times as a child, so it just brings me back to that time. So It 2017 is an extension of both of these things because I used to watch the 1990 It when I was a kid and it scared the shit out of me. I fell asleep to this movie every night for about a year, and then they took it off Netflix, but then they just put it back on HBO Max, so I'm now falling asleep to it every night again. And in the in-between time, I was falling asleep to Unfriended. Finally, this is like half a comfort movie for me because this one like actually is the one movie that still fucking freaks me out. My parents took me to see Signs in the theater when I was 7, and it absolutely fucking traumatized me like it did most of our generation. And because of this movie, aliens are my biggest fear, and again, that scene still freaks me the fuck out. But again, this movie is just so nostalgic for me, and I have so many good memories associated with it. So ultimately, even though it freaks me the fuck out, I would say that this is still a comfort movie for me. What are your comfort movies, though? I would love to know.